If you've been following along on this channel here at American Advocates, you know that I'm not too keen on watching James Comey be indicted, mainly because I don't think anything that he's charged with will stick, and I think it's going to be just a grandstanding fest that we've seen Republicans pull off for years now with no actual results. However, when it comes to Letitia James here, I've done some research into what's going on here with her mortgage fraud case and everything that she's being indicted for. And oh my God, this one is going to be an obvious major win for the Republicans, and an easy one at that. Tisk, tisk, Tish, you've been caught. And she knows she's been caught. She's been going off on a tirade, giving all kinds of ridiculous speeches like this one.
My mission is clear. I'm focused. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I've been trained by the best. I went to Howard University that overturned legal segregation in this country. I've been taught in those classrooms where Thurgood Marshall once taught. I'm not afraid of no president. Donald Trump, we're ready for you. We're coming for you. We're standing up for you. We're fighting on. We're not going down silent. Victory, my friends, is clear. It's now. And I'm not waiting 4 years. I'm waiting 2 until a speaker by the name of Hakeem Jeffries comes to bring us some rest. Come on, ladies. It's up to us. We saved this democracy before. We'll save it now. Let's go.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news for her all across the board. If she's waiting on Hakeem Jeffries to be her savior, well, she's definitely going to prison then. But on top of that, even CNN is trying to run cover for her and failing miserably. She won't even be saved by the mainstream media that has her back.
These New York charges, residential mortgage fraud, among them, one of the most serious. So he's looking at 1 to 3 years minimum, 8 to 25 years maximum. These are huge ranges. But those would be inescapable, right? There's nothing a president can do to pardon on a state charge.
Now, that was back in 2019 when they were talking about Trump's mortgage fraud case that Letitia James had levied against him. They were very excited about that. They couldn't wait to see a sitting U.S. president tried for mortgage fraud. They were looking at this as a ticket to persecute him while he was in office, and they were loving every single second of it. Notice the verbiage used by that anchor there. Now, this is the worst one of them all, and he can't pardon himself from this, can he? But now, when the shoe's on the other foot, on Letitia James' foot particularly, in the year 2025, look how that same news anchor is reporting on it right here.
James is the first Attorney General of New York to be indicted by the Justice Department, and it follows a nearly 6-month investigation into claims of mortgage fraud. Now, that is a charge the United States Justice Department rarely brings against individuals, but of course, James is not an ordinary individual. Trump considers her an enemy after she sued him in 2022, accusing Trump of lying about his real estate empire and inflating the value of his properties.
And so, of course, you can see the media spin already in effect. This is one of Trump's enemies and the first attorney general to be sued like this, and blah, blah, blah. Trump's doing this as an act of warfare and retribution and vindication. This is just Trump looking for revenge. Try as they may, I'll tell you right now, and I'm going to show you just a little bit here, all of the evidence that has mounted against Letitia James here. It's undeniable. The media can try these same old tired tactics all they want. It's not going to work. But because I love these side-by-side videos of the media twisting everything and being exposed in their own hypocrisy, here's another one because I love it. I just love watching all of it get exposed. Here's more of their hypocrisy in effect.
How about the people who don't get the same benefits based on inflated assets? The people who have tax that is owed, people who have to actually give the accurate assessment of the value of their property if they're lucky enough to own it, according to the so-called American dream. If they're able to secure a loan in an industry which oftentimes lays bare bias, whether it's implicit or otherwise, or, algorithm based or otherwise. What about those people who say, well, you know what? All's well did not end well for me because I didn't have the benefit that perhaps Trump did. I suspect on a jury of people who have either tried to get a loan, who have had to pay their taxes, who have had to do that which is required, will look at it very differently. But again, now it's just a judge doing that, who I'm sure has to pay his taxes as well.
Now, just real fast before I let the other half of this clip play, in summary there, what she's trying to inform you in that old newsreel clip was that Trump's mortgage fraud, his alleged mortgage fraud at that time, was not a victimless crime, because that's the narrative that the Republican media was trying to inform you of. It was basically, well, listen, everything that was going on between Trump and this supposed mortgage fraud was pretty kosher when it came to the negative effect that it had on other people, being that it didn't. Even the banks themselves, who were the technical victims of this, were very outspoken during the lawsuit, came forward and basically said, hey, we got our money back. We have no problem with this. We wouldn't sue Trump over this. We don't want anything done over this personally. So even the banks were on Trump's side, which is very unusual, but that's just how ridiculous of a lawsuit it all was against him back then. Fast forward now, though, and now what they want you to understand about mortgage fraud is it's a victimless crime. Now it is, of course, because it's Letitia James. But when it was Trump, it wasn't. And so that's the first step of the denial by the mainstream media and the liberal party here. And that is, of course, step one, mortgage fraud, according to them now in 2025, is a victimless crime.
Has to pay his taxes as well. I want to break down this indictment against James in plain English. I want you to forget the legal codes. Here it is. They say that she bought a property. She claimed it would be used for personal use only, as a second home. Instead, she rented it out to a family of three. Now, here is why the prosecutors want you to care. Prosecutors say that the banks suffered because when she claimed it was for her, she got a note rate of 3% rather than 3.815%. And between that and a seller credit, she probably saved 19 grand over the life of the loan. The prosecutors say that her misrepresentation, as they're saying it is, that it harmed the bank. They don't allege how in this indictment. They don't allege when they were harmed. They don't allege why they were harmed. Bank fraud starts with, quote, whoever knowingly executes or attempts to execute a scheme. I'm sure you can guess what the key word there is. By the way, I said knowingly, right? And for false statements to a financial institution, quote, whoever knowingly makes a false statement or report, oh, there it is again, knowingly. What does this mean? That the prosecutors, Lindsay Halligan in her office, whoever ends up prosecuting this case, they got to prove that James had the intent to defraud and deliberately lied to the loan provider. Not that it was a mistake or a typo.
And I know you're sitting there really annoyed at that, going, oh my God, I can't believe they're playing this card, the it's not that bad card. That's exactly what they're playing. Step one in their denial phase. It's not that bad, blah, blah, blah. Here's the deal. The whole knowingly verbiage that she's trying to use as the convenient excuse for Letitia James, well, I've done a lot of research on her mortgage fraud, and there's just absolutely no way that she unknowingly was committing mortgage fraud. I'm going to show you all of that evidence in just a minute here. But first, I want to get to step two of the liberal mainstream media spin when it comes to one of their own falling victim publicly to a crime like this. Step one, it's not that bad. What's step two? Well, laughably, step two, according to CNN news anchors themselves, is everyone commits mortgage fraud. Well, haven't you I mean, I have. Haven't you? So stupid. Take a listen.
Aside for a second, what Tish James, and again, we're still getting the details, but if it's related to this mortgage issue, I mean, this is something that everyone in America, or many people at least, if you're lucky enough to be able to buy a house in America, you deal with this, right? The federal government doesn't go after all of these people for doing this.
And so, yes, you've heard that right. According to CNN, if you own a home, you have committed mortgage fraud. That's essentially the conclusion to that news clip right there. If you own a home, you've committed mortgage fraud, just like our hero, New York State Attorney General Letitia James. The only difference between you and her, apparently, is that you're not on Trump's bad side. Your name's just not big enough to be in the public spotlight to where Trump would go after you for it, so you should count your lucky stars and thank them dearly. That's the message of CNN to you, and why you shouldn't care all that much about Letitia James's mortgage fraud because chances are you've committed it too. I don't know about you, but committing mortgage fraud is not something I've ever done, and I'm sure it's not something you've ever done, not to mention the fact that most Americans aren't in a position like Letitia James is to where they can own 2 or 3 additional homes. Most Americans my age don't even own 1 home. So that's a very unrelatable message, and it's one that will ultimately fail. It's a message that will fail because it's unrelatable. People are going to look at that and go, what the hell are you talking about? I don't even own a home, or I only own 1 home, and I certainly haven't committed mortgage fraud, so I do care about this. That's how people are going to view it. They're not going to view it as it wasn't that bad. They're going to see the hypocrisy in the it wasn't that bad defense. And then they're going to be outraged at the, well, you've committed mortgage fraud too defense. So what will be their default that they go to? It won't come as any surprise to you. They're already warming up the servers for that right now. You can see in this article by the Associated Press, Trump's indictment of New York Attorney General Letitia James stirs concerns for Black women leaders. That's right. This is racist of President Donald Trump to be doing outright. This is a Black woman who owned 3 homes, and Trump despises her because she's Black, clearly. So this is just a racist endeavor on the president's part. That's their third defense, because at that point, many people will shy away from criticizing their defense of it. You can criticize their defense of it not being that bad. You can criticize their defense of everyone does it because that's just cartoonishly outrageous. But they're going to fall back on what they always do, the race card. It's liberal mainstream media at its finest. Will any of this save her, though? No. There's an overwhelming amount of evidence mounting against her. And she truthfully only has one shot, and I don't think it's that good, of getting this indictment dropped. Because unfortunately, there was a legal loophole issue in this process. I actually wrote it down here. Apparently, she can claim that the acting U.S. attorney who signed these charges against her should not have been holding office. If she does that and the courts decide that that's correct, then the indictment goes down. That's her only way out. It's not a good one. There's just too much evidence against her. And moving on to what that evidence actually is, we have the official records pulled up right here from the City of New York Department of Buildings, the Certificate of Occupancy. This is absolute proof that Letitia James knowingly committed mortgage fraud. She legally certified on these documents that she would move into a small apartment complex, and of course, she never wound up doing that. The reason why she would do this is because, of course, owner-occupied residence instead of investment properties, instead of apartments that you're intending to rent out to tenants, owner-occupied residencies save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. So it's a no-brainer as to why. And, you know, in truth, CNN's not completely wrong. There's plenty of people committing fraud at this level for this reason, to save a lot of money. But you know what the difference is between them and Letitia James? Letitia James is the only one stupid enough to go after a sitting U.S. president and try him for something that she's guilty of. On top of that, again, still the majority of Americans have not committed mortgage fraud, but that's besides the point. You can see right here, she's officially essentially signed a lie on this paper. It gets even deeper because Letitia James wound up lying about having 2 primary residences as well. She has one in New York and one in Virginia, where she apparently had her father sign off as her husband. And now this is an even bigger deal if true because, well, Letitia James didn't hold back at all when it came to going after President Donald Trump. She also gleefully was looking to go after his children and his family as well. Eric Trump, one of Donald Trump's children, suffered tremendously at the hands of lawfare against the Trump family. They went after Eric Trump with vigor. I believe at one point he was America's most indicted man, and he was a young man at the time and still really is. I mean, they broke records on that poor guy. Trump's son, by the way, Trump had to sit back and watch this happen. Eric Trump just released a book on this, actually. It's well worth the read. I've heard it's an incredible book. Now, will Trump return the favor is the question. Will he wind up going after Letitia James's father over this mortgage fraud? Because technically, if this is true, her father is now also liable for this and can be charged as well. Something tells me, though, that President Donald Trump will take the high road on this one and will not go after him. He will only do battle with his direct enemy, which is, of course, Letitia James. Now, of course, Letitia James has addressed the people over this, and she's insisting that this is simply political retribution. Despite all the evidence out there that she's committed mortgage fraud, all of it, this is just political retribution, according to her.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost. The president's actions are a grave violation of our constitutional order and have drawn sharp criticism from members of both parties.
No, they haven't.
His decision to fire a United States attorney who refused to bring charges against me and replace them with someone who is blindly loyal not to the law, but to the president is antithetical to the bedrock principles of our country.
That's going to be her only way she tries to get out of this indictment.
Leaders on both sides of the aisle to speak out against this blatant perversion of our system of justice. I stand strongly behind my office's litigation against the Trump Organization. We conducted a 2-year investigation based on the facts and evidence, not politics.
Now, it's so funny she would word it like that. She went off just facts and evidence. It was not political at all for her, what she did against President Donald Trump and his family. No, certainly not. She's a virtuous woman, after all, isn't she? That's what she wants you to believe while she's giving this speech, while she's directly under fire, knowing in her head that she very likely could go to prison for 30 years and wind up being fined tremendously, of course. And I hope that that does happen to her. But this is just blatant hypocrisy, and again, this outdated Democrat style of gaslighting that worked 20 to 25 years ago before social media was so prevalent. Unfortunately for her and for the rest of the most unpopular Democrat Party in American history, that level of gaslighting doesn't work anymore because social media has everything recorded. Everything is logged. Everything can be remembered and researched and pulled up in a moment's notice. Like this clip here, where she openly talks about how she is campaigning on suing President Donald Trump. Her entire campaign for New York State Attorney General was built off of finding a way to sue Trump. Her words. Not, I'm going to sue Trump for this or that. She didn't go in knowing. She just went in knowing, I don't like Trump. The Democrats don't like Trump. So I will ruthlessly investigate him and spend my entire time as Attorney General of New York State looking for something he did wrong to persecute him over it.
What is fueling my soul right now is Trump.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, and then going home.
I know my name personally.
Well, Letitia James, President Donald Trump knows your name personally, all right. Much to your chagrin, much to your dismay. Because unfortunately for you, you were just too stupid. I can't get over how dumb she is. I mean, to have committed the very thing you're suing the president over. And now it's all coming back to bite her. This is what many people would call karma if you're Buddhist. Or if you're Christian, you would say this is just God's judgment. God is allowing Trump to make his enemies his footstool. And that's all that Letitia James will ever be. And it really only continues to get worse for her. This right here is a report that I found you will not see shared on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, etc. anytime soon. Maybe Fox News will run their own story of this, but only here will you hear this report about how Letitia James has been falsifying documents for 42 years. CNN wants you to think that this could have been a typo or a mistake, an honest mistake, or worst case scenario, something that's really not that bad in its own isolated incident, of course. But this report is a real eye-opener where allegedly she's been falsifying the documents for 42 years. Everything she's done has been mortgage fraud for decades, according to this report. Take a listen.
You know, the way it's laid out, I mean, yeah, she did this and that's that.
It's as plain as day. But
this isn't a complicated case. I guess
No, it isn't a complicated case, but everybody's looking at that one property. There's 2 other properties that she committed mortgage fraud on, and every single mortgage document that she signed going back 42 years with her signature on it had falsified information, was false.
So you're saying all 3 properties, all mortgage fraud across the board?
Yes, this is not a one-off. I'm sorry, this is not a one-off mistake.
Yeah.
This is one right after the other, right after the other.
So you're saying she knew what she was doing and was doing it on repeat. That's
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
Okay, Sam Antar, appreciate it, man.
And so, for that very reason, you can see why Letitia James is most likely going down for mortgage fraud, most likely going to be found guilty, most likely getting fined, and probably also going to prison. The evidence against her is astronomical, insurmountable, and undeniable. And I'm going to end this video with a quote from Letitia James herself, but first be sure to subscribe right now to American Advocates for more content like this, unless, of course, you have a poster of Letitia James AI photoshopped in a bikini that you stare at every single night before going to bed. If that's you, please be sure to dislike this video and block this channel at that point. My God, you're a fiend and you're not welcomed here. This channel is for American patriots, red-blooded patriots who put America first and want true justice, not scummy Democrat justice. So if that's what you want, subscribe to American Advocates for more. But here's Letitia James. This is an old X post from her, February 16th, 2024. When powerful people cheat to get better loans, it comes at the expense of hardworking people. Everyday Americans cannot lie to a bank to get a mortgage, and if they did, our government would throw the book at them. There simply cannot be different rules for different people. Well, Letitia James, I agree with you.